You've probably heard of the American War of Independence, but what about the War of 1812? Only a few decades after the Americans fought for their freedom, another war erupted between Great Britain and the United States. The War of 1812, or America's Forgotten War as some call it, is one of the most intriguing yet sometimes overlooked chapters in American history. But what were the main causes of this war? The conflict was preceded by tensions resulting from British maritime policy, such as trade restrictions and impressment. The United States and other neutral countries were subject to trade restrictions imposed by Britain and France during the Napoleonic Wars. In addition, Americans saw the British practice of impressment, in which American ships were stopped and seamen were forced into joining the Royal Navy, as a breach of their maritime rights and sovereignty. That fueled their growing animosity towards the British. Relations between the two countries were further strained when the British assisted the Native American resistance against American expansion in the Northwest Territory. Unresolved territorial disputes also played a major role in growing tensions. At the time, American politicians, who were known as war hawks, supported using force to impose territorial expansion and sovereignty. The combination of all these factors ultimately resulted in the start of the War of 1812. On June 18, 1812, the United States formally declared war on Great Britain. After years of unsuccessful diplomatic attempts to calm American frustrations, the war declaration revealed an increasing sense of dissatisfaction and pride among American leaders for their country. Once the war was declared, a series of battles followed. Let's briefly explore the key events of this war. As soon as the war began, American forces invaded British North America, or modern-day Canada, in an attempt to seize land and put pressure on the British to agree to amicable terms. Some American leaders believed that Canada would be an easy target, and that capturing it would improve America's negotiating position in peace talks. In August 1812, the vital outpost of Detroit was taken without a shot being fired by British forces, with the help of Native American allies. General William Hull's surrender of Detroit dealt a serious blow to American morale and exposed the weakness of American outposts on the frontier. Once Detroit fell, the British were able to gain more power over the western Great Lakes region, and this in turn prompted Native American tribes to side with the British in opposition to the U.S. government. Under General Stephen Van Rensselaer's command, American forces secured an early win at the Battle of Queenston Heights on October 13, 1812, when they took control of a crucial British outpost on the Niagara frontier. But because the American militia refused to help the U.S. Army win, British reinforcements were able to launch a counteroffensive and drive out the Americans. This battle revealed the difficulties the American forces experienced in coordinating operations and sustaining momentum in offensive campaigns. A few months later, the Battle of Frenchtown near the River Raisin began. It started on January 22, 1813, with an American triumph. However, it ended in a crushing defeat. At first, American forces under General James Winchester were able to withstand the joint attack by Native Americans and the British. But the British onslaught that followed, together with the atrocities that the British's Native American allies committed against American prisoners, led to a humiliating loss for the Americans. The River Raisin Massacre, in which Native American warriors captured and slaughtered hundreds of Americans, outraged the country and rallied support for further military action. Under the command of Commodore Isaac Chauncey and General Henry Dearborn, American soldiers successfully launched an amphibious assault on York, the provincial capital of Upper Canada in present-day Toronto, on April 27, 1813. York's conquest was a major military victory for the United States and boosted national morale. However, the American win was clouded by American troops burning down public buildings and plundering, which damaged the U.S. military's image in the eyes of many Canadians. On September 10, 1813, in a pivotal naval combat on Lake Erie, Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry led American forces to victory over a British fleet led by Commodore Robert Barclay. In the middle of the engagement, Perry famously moved his flag from the severely damaged USS Lawrence to the intact USS Niagara and carried on the fight, ultimately compelling the British fleet to surrender. As a result of this success, the United States was able to recover Detroit and regain control of the western Great Lakes. About a month later, at the Battle of the Thames on October 5, 1813, American forces led by General William Henry Harrison decisively defeated a combined British and Native American force. Native American resistance to American expansion in the Northwest witnessed a major shift when Tecumseh, the chief of the Shawnee tribe, was killed in the conflict. Tecumseh's death weakened the Native American Confederacy he had worked to establish, paving the path for additional American territory advance. In April 1814, under the command of Major General Robert Ross, British soldiers successfully invaded the United States, taking Washington, D.C. and setting it on fire. The White House and the Capitol were among the important government structures that were set on fire, shocking and infuriating the people of America. The burning of Washington signaled a low point in American morale and demonstrated how susceptible the newly formed nation was to outside invasion. In the Battle of Plattsburgh on September 11, 1814, American forces led by Commodore Thomas MacDonough and General Alexander Macomb decisively defeated a British invasion force that was trying to move southward from Canada into New York. The British ambitions of capturing a large portion of the northern United States were effectively crushed by the American victory, which also reinforced American claims to territorial authority in the area. Only 2 days later, on September 13th and 14th, 1814, Vice Admiral Alexander Cochrane's British naval forces bombarded Fort McHenry in an effort to take the city of Baltimore. However, the American soldiers' heroic fort defense and the British ground assault's defeat kept the British from reaching their goal. A lawyer and amateur poet named Francis Scott Key witnessed the successful defense at the Battle of Baltimore. The American victory inspired him to write The Star-Spangled Banner, which later became the U.S. national anthem. The War of 1812 came to a formal end on December 24, 1814, with the signing of the Treaty of Ghent. The treaty, which was negotiated in the Belgian city of Ghent, set the foundation for future peaceful relations between the United States and British North America, as well as the restoration of their pre-war borders. This treaty, however, left a number of challenging issues unsolved and did not address many of the underlying grievances that had led to the war in the first place. But even after the treaty was signed, the British invaded New Orleans. On January 8, 1815, American soldiers led by General Andrew Jackson defeated a British force at the Battle of New Orleans. But if the war was officially over, then why did this invasion happen? News of the Treaty of Ghent had not yet reached North America due to the delayed communication at the time, so combat continued until early 1815. The war finally came to an end on February 18, 1815, when news of the Treaty of Ghent reached the United States. The completion of the War of 1812 marked the end of a costly and divisive battle that tested the young nation's resolve and provided the foundation for future events in American history.